was in just a couple of hours ago. That this is is it the fifth ballot of Conservative MPs, and narrowing three down to two. So now it was no surprise that Rishi Sunak came first. What was a surprise is that Liz Truss came second. Penny Mordaunt was pushed into third place, and therefore Miss Mordaunt has been knocked out of the competition. So my prediction was that Rishi Sunak would get 122 votes, but I was wrong on this because he got considerably more. He got 137 votes. So those Kemi Badenoch votes, I thought they'd mostly go to Liz Truss, and quite a few of them did. I thought some would go to Penny Mordaunt on the basis they want to stop Rishi, which means how many of them went to Rishi Sunak. I thought there would be a couple, but I didn't think there would be this many. So why would you vote for Kemi Badenoch, a right-wing candidate, and then vote for a left-winger, Rishi, towards the end? It might just be personality, not ideology, or thinking, put ideology aside, who's the most credible prime minister? Who would stand the best chance of leading the Conservatives to victory in a forthcoming general election against Labour? And Rishi Sunak, he's telegenic, he's genial, there are no skeletons in his cupboard. People talk about his wife's tax affairs. Okay, well, that's awful. They've changed it. As for the lockdown party, he took the medicine. Doesn't seem to have dented him seriously. He was a fairly effective chancellor. He's experienced. He's highly intelligent. Let's face it, he's a visible ethnic minority, which can only be a good thing, proving how diverse the party is, how welcoming it is to ethnic minority people. The British Indian community, it's only 5% of the UK population, but they're increasingly electorally important, and their numbers are growing significantly through birth rate, through immigration, and so forth. Then Labour won't be able to mischaracterise the Conservative Unionist Party as racialist. So there are all sorts of reasons why he'd be a superb Prime Minister. Tug and Hunt went to Truss, which supports the view that Sunak played games lending votes. Yeah, there is this theory that Rishi Sunak's camp was confident of winning the whole thing. So it's had some of his ultra-loyal supporters well Liz Truss because Penny Mordaunt's a more formidable opponent. So let's make sure that Penny Mordaunt is eliminated from the contest. Then I'll be facing Liz Truss because opinion polls show that if in the next stage it goes to ordinary members of the Conservative Party, at least 160,000 people, not politicians, who are going to vote for the leader, that Penny Mordaunt would beat all comers, including Rishi Sunak. So the Daily Mail did a poll of this about a week ago, and in a theoretical matchup between Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss would get 49% of the vote, Rishi Sunak would get 42% of the vote, with the rest undecided. There's a 7 percentage point margin, so not very big, and I don't think this was a scientifically conducted poll on Conservative Home. So yeah, it looks like Liz Truss would win, but remember the postal ballots are going to go out the week beginning 1st of August, but because of a mail strike, they'll be a little bit late. The result will be announced the 5th of September. So there's everything to play for. So some people won't vote for over a month from now, and you can change a lot of minds in that time. There may be revelations. Now, Liz Truss, she said she would introduce a tax cut. That's in line with Conservative ideology, but Rishi Sunak said that that's unsafe. That will actually aggravate inflation, and Rishi Sunak had the chutzpah to claim that that was a socialist thing to do. So some right-wingers have claimed that Rishi Sunak was insufficiently conservative, behaved like a Labour chancellor. He was dishing out the cash in 2020 during lockdown. Dishy Rishi, they called him. Remember Dr. Vince Cable interviewed on this channel, and he said he'll be less popular when that has to be paid for, with tax rises, with spending cuts, with additional borrowing, and so on. So Liz Truss has supposedly proved her mettle over Ukraine. So who would I plump for? The agony of choice. I was tending towards Liz Truss. I wonder whether I'm now inclining towards Rishi Sunak. I do find it difficult to make up my mind. They're both intelligent. They're both Oxonians, incidentally. So Liz Truss is 45. Rishi Sunak is 42. They'll both be fairly young prime ministers, and whoever fails to get it this time could easily get it next time. This person will be the fourth Conservative prime minister in how many years? Since 2006, fourth prime minister in 6 years. Anyway, so at this rate, the Conservatives will be having another leadership election within another 3 years. If one of them leads the Conservative Party into a general election and the party loses, as is likely, then the other person could become leader. Because the Conservatives have been in office for 12 years, and actually not that far behind the opinion polls. And what else? Won 4 consecutive general election victories. You can't win them all. Labour's got to win eventually. They've got a credible leader, a bland leader, who Conservatives regard as dangerous. They say the Conservatives do well when they have dull leaders, such as Harold Wilson, Clement Attlee, Gordon Brown. Okay, Tony Blair was a one-off. Jim Callaghan. But Conservatives do well when they have a leader with a bit of pizzazz, like Boris Johnson. I know not doing so well now, but he did great at that 2019 election. Or Maggie Thatcher. Do badly when the Conservatives have a really bland leader like Ian Duncan Smith or William Hague or maybe Michael Howard. I can't think who else. David Cameron was somewhat interesting. Um, Theresa May wasn't a very exciting leader, and the Conservatives just about won that 2017 election. So we go ahead. I mean, I'm glad Miss Mordaunt is out of contention because I thought she was the least impressive, over promoted. Her claim to fame was she's the first woman ever to be Defence Secretary. Well, she held that post for under 3 months. She had been in the cabinet for a few years. Rishi Sunak's been in the cabinet for several years. So he's got a fairly good track record on policy. He was a Deutsche Bank Wunderkind, a self-made multi-millionaire. By the age of 30, he was able to retire and devote himself entirely to politics, has a very happy married life. Now, I wouldn't care if he's a complete womanizer, if he's actually homosexual on the side or something, but some people would. Liz Truss, what about her background? So I can't remember where she's born, but she mainly grew up in Leeds. Both her parents were revolutionary socialists who wouldn't vote Labour on the grounds it was too right wing. Was taking all these far left demos as a child, was a Liberal Democrat as a teenager, addressed the Lib Dem conference at the age of 19, and notoriously said the monarchy ought to be abolished. But she changed her views at Oxford, became a conservative, became a management consultant, made a lot of money. She had an affair with a married Conservative MP later on. Anyway, she got married herself, but she uses her maiden name in politics, not the surname of the man she's married to. She's got 2 children, been in Parliament since 2010, is very presentable. Some people think that she's too ideologically blinkered. Remember, she campaigned for Remain in the 2016 referendum on Brexit, but when she became a Brexiteer, she did so with a vengeance, and now is a zealous Brexiteer. Some people think that she's a bit too swivel-eyed on that one. So negotiated a lot of trade deals. It's been the face of the United Kingdom internationally for a few years. I remember when I bumped into her on the street 2 years ago, couldn't believe it. And Rishi Sunak, well, his background's well known. He's born in Southampton. I think his father's a GP, his mother's a pharmacist. He went to Winchester, didn't quite get a scholarship, was head boy. Went to Lincoln College, Oxford, where he read philosophy, politics, and economics, the same subject as Liz Truss. I think they didn't quite overlap because he's 3 years younger than her. He got a double first. He eschewed student politics, went straight into banking. He later picked up an MBA at Stanford, which is where he met Akshata Murthy, the owner of Infosys as in information systems, India's biggest IT company. So his wife's very, very wealthy indeed. And he was attacked by some of his opponents on his wife's tax affairs because obviously that's bringing income into his household, completely legally above board, but ethically suboptimal. I said, well, I'm immensely proud of this family story. It's a very conservative story. Okay, they made a lot of money, but come on, people should pay more in tax. And the law should be changed to prevent this non-domicile tax status. I mean, I don't care if you claim a domicile somewhere. We want to bring as much money into the treasury as we can, and those based on the ability to pay. So yeah, I would tax very wealthy people more. I don't hate them. Tax them a bit more. You can still be a multimillionaire. You just won't have quite so many millions. Anyway, who's going to win? I mean, at the moment, it looks like Liz Truss, partly because the old Tory adage that Michael Heseltine brought out in 1990 when he defenestrated Thatcher: "He who wields the knife never wears the crown." So the grassroots blame Rishi for bringing down Boris Johnson. Indeed, Rishi's a big beast. When he jumped ship, that caused a very big splash, and he did more to bring down Johnson than anybody else. But that doesn't accrue to his credit amongst ordinary Conservative Party members. And there's more loyalty to Bojo amongst ordinary members than there is amongst the MPs who had no fealty for him by the end, most of them. So Liz Truss is the sort of the stop Rishi candidate because Bojo is smouldering with resentment and rancor against Rishi, so he will throw his very considerable weight behind Liz Truss. Remember, he still has a lot of sway amongst grassroots members of the party. So my hunch is Liz Truss will narrowly get it. Right. I could be wrong. How sure am I that she's going to get it? I mean, I only think she'll win by about 55% of the vote. And I'm only about 60% sure that she'll win. That's all. Goodbye.